do a quick little video of progress on my install of the Rostra cruise control on my '07 FJR that I just got. Under the seat here, there's the box. I'm gonna have to cut a hole through some plastic here to feed that cable and route it just to the right of the air box. Comes around, curve around here into this area right here. So most guys, they just try to get down and hook onto, I don't know if I can poke at it there. There's the stop, if I can get in there. There's a little arm, tab arm that comes out and then hits the idle adjust screw, and so they try to hook onto that. I did. I drilled and tapped that and put the bead chain on that thing, and it just seemed to really bind up at the top. You can see where I drilled and tapped that thing, but when it gets right up to the top all the way, it really binds. And this is, I have the cable. The throttle cable goes right here, and then the return cable goes over here. And this is so stinking tight down in there. I don't like it. And I don't like the way when the cruise control comes on, then your throttle has to move with the mechanism. So the cruise control is dragging your hand. Maybe I just have a heavy hand, back and forth. Seems to struggle to maintain speed when you're a hold of the grip. So what I'm going to do is, I drew up on AutoCAD, make a little bracket. I only have one hole punch, so that this is, I'm going to make this out of 1/8" thick aluminum. This is what I did on my ST1100. This bracket, in this case, will mount to 2 bolts. This will be just a straight through bolt, and this bolt here will have a hole drilled through it. So quarter inch hole, quarter-inch bolt with a hole for the cable that will bolt this bracket, put that down, this bracket on. Inside that bracket will be a pair of pulleys mounted, 2 separate pulleys. And these are made these so that around this one groove, the first groove from the top, is the return cable to the throttle, and the second groove from the top there will be the pull cable from the throttle. So that will turn, and when the throttle is pulling, it pulls inside this keyway inside there, and when it's pulling this way, it pulls the whole thing. And the third groove here will be a cable that goes down through here and hooks to the throttle body. So pulling, going to full throttle this way, back to idle that way. And then the last pulley here will be the cruise control. So what happened is, even if the throttle here, this spool, even if it stays at idle, then the cruise control here can be pulling, adding throttle, reducing throttle to maintain speed. But the throttle cable then will be freewheeling. And that takes the load, the throttle load off from, disconnects it from the cruise control. So I like that feel a lot better when cruising, just to have the cruise engaged and my throttle hand is free. So this part right here, from the throttle cable to this, still has the pull and the return, the pull back, pull forward, throttle forward, pull back. And then this sits right in there, and there's a single cable then going down to the throttle. And this thing is pretty good tension. There's, on my ST, I did 50,000 miles with no problem not having a return cable from my throttle body on that one, a carburetor, back up to this return. I think the reason they do that on a motorcycle is because the throttle over time, they haven't come up with a way for the throttle over time to not get sticky. And then with cables running it down, all the way down to here, when you deaccelerate, you need that return cable to make sure you have positive return to idle, no throttle. So yeah, I got too much time into making these, but I kind of have fun doing it. I like doing this kind of machine work, figuring out how to make it work, figuring out how to make it fit in this tight, compact space. This one, there's a lot more room when you take the fuel rail. This one, I've had the fuel rail out a couple of times, so you can take that fuel rail, lay it to the side, and that way you can see this is the arm that they usually try to hook onto right there. Might be able to see it better over here. See, it goes down and hits that screw stop. But that stupid arm is got a bend in it. It's got a bend in it because when it gets up to the top, when it gets, try and get in there. When it gets all the way up to the top, it has to clear the pull cable. So you can't hook anything to this side, to the right side of that arm, because it will interfere with the pull cable up here. So it's just really tight in there, near impossible to get the linkage for this thing hooked up so that it's not interfering with the cable. And I just didn't want that bead chain hanging in there getting hung up. And even when you get the bead chain up here, then you have to get it over, because there's not enough room for this thing to sit vertical. You got to run that bead chain around through a tube or over a pulley to get it to the cruise control cable that's mounted, you know, coming in here like horizontally. So this is my better mousetrap when I get it further along, I'll do another video on this, on my finished project, finished cruise control for my FJR 1300.